session. So if you're watching me live on our Facebook page, you can type in any question about piano or music learning or practicing, and I'll do my best to answer as many questions as possible. I usually don't have time to answer every question, but I'll go through as many as I possibly can. So go ahead and type in your questions. I'll hop on my Facebook page and see who is asking questions. So first I need to find myself to make sure that I'm broadcasting. So I'm not seeing, oh, here we are. Okay, here we go. All right. And type in a comment if anything isn't working with like the audio or the video. We've been making some changes and I just want to make sure you all can hear me okay. So I'm ready to take your questions. You can go ahead and type anything in. I'll do my best to answer all of your burning questions. Or shout outs are good too. Hello to Malia in Wisconsin. Thanks for watching today. Grace asks, did you ever get nervous while playing the piano? Yes, definitely. I love playing when I'm all by myself, and it's one thing I'll do for fun all the time. But when I'm in front of an audience, sometimes all those people watching makes me feel a little nervous. Definitely something I've felt. And when that happens, I try to just focus on the music and let my mind think about, okay, what's the feeling of this music, and try to connect with the emotion of the music, and sometimes that can help. Hi, Nick. Glad you're watching. Hello to Harshitha in Florida. 10. Thanks for watching. Nick, you didn't really forget middle C, did you? It's right here for anyone who needs a refresher on that. Let's see. Iris and Anna in Kentucky asked if I had a good Easter. Yes, I did. Thank you very much. It was very quiet, but we invited a couple of friends over and had a lovely time. We did a little Easter egg hunt in the front yard. It was lovely. Thank you for asking. And hello to Angelina, Jenny, and Leona, who are all watching too. Wow, we don't have a lot of questions today, which is totally fine. Maybe we can do like some music sharing. Hello to Grace in Nebraska. Thanks for watching. Hello to Avyansh in India. And we do have a question from Avyansh. I want to know when I compose a song, how to know when to add chord and which chord to play. That's a good question. When you're composing, there are so many different ways you can approach it. Sometimes when I compose, I like to just start by messing around and trying to figure out what is the feeling I'm trying to create with my composition. And compositions can start with the melody first, you can start with the rhythms first, you can start with the chords first. There's so many different ways you can approach composing, and so you've got to find what works best for you. Well, chords are just kind of like adding flavor to a composition. Like, let's take a famous melody, Star Wars, right? You know, they're going to add some chords. See, those two chords I think are really exciting there at the end. So you can use chords to add excitement at certain points. I like to use chords to emphasize the important notes. Like notice these first three notes, ba ba bum. They're not the most important notes, da 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 dum. The chord comes right there, ba 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 bum bum. And that has a really exciting sound. If you wanted to make it more flowing, it could be like. And see, now it sounds like Mozart or something instead of Star Wars. Okay, so the style of chord you use can make a big difference. And you just find those places you want to emphasize your melody. And you'll get the hang of it as you practice. Remember, when you compose, you're going to get better and better as you go. And so don't expect that every composition is going to be a masterpiece, right? It may take 100 compositions to reach that one masterpiece, and that's okay. If you're an artist, you're always working on your craft and enjoying that growth you see, one piece at a time. Arav, hello to you, 5 years old in Seattle. And Arav loves improvising. And his question is, when can I see my song request on test drive from How to Train Your Dragon? Well, we have so many song requests. We actually can't make tutorials for every song request we get, or I would never ever get to eat or sleep or do anything else. I'd just be making tutorials all day. So we unfortunately may or may not get to that one. Like I said, we have maybe 200 songs that have been requested, maybe even more than that. And we do look at that list and we try to choose certain ones, but I can't make any promises, and I'm sorry about that. Let's see. Hello, I am Naira from Colombia. I have 2 questions. If we go to the US, can I visit Hoffman Academy? 2, how and when was Hoffman Academy created? Great questions. Yes, if you come to the US, I would love for you to stop by Hoffman Academy. We get visitors occasionally. We're here in Portland, Oregon, and if you'd like to drop by, I'd be happy to take a couple minutes and say hello and show you around Hoffman Academy. That would be delightful, absolutely. And 2, how and when was Hoffman Academy created? It was created in 2007, so that was 14 years ago. I moved to Portland with my wife and 2 kids, and we started a little music school. It was in our living room at first, and then we rented a little cottage, and now we're in the place you see now. We've been here for about 8 years in this current location, but I've always lived nearby. Let's see. Samidha asked, did you ever play Bach songs? Yes, I love Bach. In fact, one piece I'm working on right now is Bach's Invention Number 8 in F major. I should show you top down. That's a piece I first learned when I was about 12 years old, and I decided to relearn it because I wanted to practice transposing songs. So it's composed in the key of F, but I've been trying transposing it like to the key of D. It's a little tricky sometimes. So it's been fun to use that old piece I learned as a kid and now practice transposing it to all 12 keys. So yes, I love Bach and still practice him today. Harshitha says, I need a little help with playing hands together. That's a very common problem. Pianists often will help with that by practicing right hand alone, then left hand alone, and then sometimes maybe I'll try and sing the right hand part while I play my left hand, or sing the left hand part while I play the right hand, so I can start thinking about it together. Or if you have a friend at home, a parent or a sibling who can play the piano, maybe one person can play the right hand while the other plays the left hand, and you can listen to how those sound together, because sometimes part of the problem is just getting used to how they sound together. And then very slowly, slow practice is extremely helpful, just gradually put it together, one hand at a time. But again, listening to a recording of the piece so you know what the sound that you're going for is can be a big, big help. So good luck with that, Harshita. Let's see. Jenny asks, what is my favorite song to play when I'm sad? Oh man, there's this super sad Brahms piece. I don't have it memorized, but it's like, almost sickeningly sad. But if I need to express some really sad feelings, that piece by Brahms, I wish I could tell you the exact opus number. It's one of his intermezzi in B minor. Great sad piece. Anna asks, Mr. Hoffman, I was wondering what is your favorite song in Unit 2? Because I'm in Unit 2. Let's see, The Wild Horses, definitely. That's my favorite song in Unit 2. And Meg asks, are there still plans to add more units? Definitely. I'm working on units 15 through 17 right now. Been choosing all the pieces. I'm considering things like there's this great Beethoven sonatina. That's one thing I'm thinking about for units 15 through 17. A few other great pieces as well. The hard part is choosing. Which of all the hundreds of great pieces out there are we going to do? Let's see. Wendy's asking, can I play for release the full song? That sounds fun, but I haven't been practicing for release recently. And I can play a little bit of the, there's a Chopin piece, Fantasy Impromptu, that I've been working on recently. I don't know the whole thing yet, but I'm happy to share a work in progress because that can be kind of fun. So maybe at the end I can share a little bit of what I've been practicing and talk about how I've been practicing it, because it's interesting, I think, to learn how other people practice. Lila wants to know if I find certain composers easier for you to play. She finds that she can pick up harder Chopin pieces faster than an easier Beethoven or Mozart, and wants to know if that's normal. Yeah, definitely, Lila. I have found the same thing myself. Like this Chopin piece that I'll play for you a little bit later, I felt like I learned that really quickly. Like in like 2 weeks, I felt like I was able to play it fairly fast and fairly confidently. But for me, Mozart, like you, maybe we're similar, Mozart is a lot harder. It's more, Mozart, because you don't use pedal, damper pedal generally, every note has to be so clean and pristine and clear that I find it's very exposed and very technical. I mean, Chopin is also technical, but the notes just kind of blur together sometimes, and that's part of the feel of Chopin, is this wash of sound. And that makes, depending on your own strengths as a pianist, there are definitely some pieces that you'll be able to learn faster than others. So totally normal, but it's good to challenge yourself. I encourage you to stretch yourself. If there's a composer, like I said, Mozart is harder for me to learn, but I find that I grow a lot as a pianist if I challenge myself to learn those pieces that are harder for me. Let's see. Arav asks, how old was I when I first started playing piano? I was about 6 years old. I don't remember 100% because at first I was just learning casually from my mom, who was also learning. She was a beginner. She wasn't a professional piano teacher, but she was learning, so she was teaching me. And then I started real lessons with a professional teacher around 7 years old. Mrs. Ingalls was her name. And someone's asking about my kids. Yeah, they're in school. They're not here at the academy. What is the hardest song that I know? Ooh, that's a good question. The hardest song? Probably some Chopin pieces. You know, there's like this, it's called the Black Keys Etude. Well, you can't see my fingers very well, can you? That might be one of the harder pieces I know. Yeah, we can go with that one. Let's see. What is my favorite composer? And did I ever play a song from my favorite composer? I like Bach's Symphony Number 3 from Grace. Yeah, I don't have one favorite composer. It kind of depends on what I'm working on at the time. One of my favorites of all time is Chopin. I've probably learned more Chopin than any other composer just because, yeah, we could go with Chopin. At least as far as playing. There are other composers I love for listening, including Bach. I love listening to Bach, but I find that it just depends on what I'm working on at the time. Iris asked, do I know of any website that allows you to write your own sheet music? I don't know of a website. I use the software Finale, and I know they have a starter student version. They might even have a free version, but Finale, spelled F-I-N-A-L-E, is the program that I use for composing. Jaden in Hawaii asks, why do I really like to play piano? Great question. It's something that I feel alive when I do. When I play piano, it's just cool that I can make these sounds and that I can take this instrument with these black and white keys and use it to make all kinds of sounds and feelings. It's just exciting. I find that I can express lots of different emotions and it feels good. I just like how I feel when I play piano. Great question, Jaden. Malia asks, what is my favorite song in Unit 8? That's a good question, but I guess either Canoe Song or is Dragon Knight in Unit 8? It's probably a tie between those. I also really like Canoe Song. Both of those are probably a tie for my favorite. Arav asks, what's my favorite song by Antonio Vivaldi? I like playing Spring. Can you play that a little? I don't know the whole thing, but Spring is that. It's from the Four Seasons by Antonio Vivaldi. And if I had to choose something, I'd say that's my favorite piece by Vivaldi. The whole Four Seasons. It's great. If you haven't ever listened to it, you should definitely listen to it. Let's see. Jenny is asking, do I get nervous when I record a video? Not really. I've done over 300 videos now, and when you do something enough times, I think you stop getting nervous. The first videos I recorded, yes, I was a little nervous. But the great thing about videos is you can do it over again if you mess up, and no one ever knows, right? Nick, who is helping me always behind the camera, if I say something that doesn't come out the right way, or I say, or I say the wrong thing, or I forget what I'm going to say, he just edits that out, usually, and then it's like it never happened. That's the magic of editing. So no, I don't get nervous for recording videos these days. Naira in Colombia asks, do I have plans to add more games? Yes, we do have plans for many more games. It's just how fast we can create them. The next game I'm thinking of adding is one where you get to practice rhythms. We do have one rhythm game right now where you listen to rhythms and you have to create it. The next game I'd like to do is where you tap the rhythm and it scores you based on how you do. I was thinking of having like a little skateboard guy riding across, and if you tap the rhythm correctly, he does tricks. But we're still developing it, so not promising anything. But definitely stay tuned for more games. Let's see, how are we doing on time? We're doing great. These are great questions. Avianch is asking, do you like to play guitar? I've tried playing guitar. I have a guitar at my house, but honestly, I don't play it very much. The reason being, guitar, you've got to build up what are called calluses. If you don't know what calluses are, if you do something with your fingers that is a little bit harsh on them, it builds like calluses, like really thick skin, because to play the guitar well, your fingers end up, it's a little bit painful at first until you build up the calluses because of holding down the strings. And I just don't like that feeling. As a pianist, I want to keep my fingers very tender and not thick with calluses. So I've never gotten into guitar a lot, I have to say. Let's see. Do I play any sports? Great question. As a kid, I loved playing baseball. I played baseball for 6 years. My favorite position was first base. And these days, I've also enjoyed racquetball. And I've played golf twice. My 13-year-old son wanted to try it out, so we went and took a lesson, and that was kind of fun. I'm terrible at it, but you know, when you first start anything, you're going to start off at a beginner level, and we'll see if we want to keep going with it. My son was into gymnastics for years, but he recently quit, so he's looking for a new sport. All right, let's see. I'm seeing if there are any other questions. And I apologize if I missed your question. Sometimes we miss one thanks to the internet. Okay, what do we got? Hi, Mr. Hoffman. I am Liam Hera Anderson, 9 years old. My brother Blake is 5 years old. We are great fans of yours. We are from the Joey Ramos Cabigao. I probably did not say that correctly, but thank you for watching. I'm glad you're here. Arav asks, sometimes I get frustrated and I don't do your lessons because it becomes too difficult. What can I do instead? Gosh, great question. If you're finding that a lesson is too difficult, it might be because you've progressed through the lessons too quickly, possibly. Make sure you take time to practice each concept and skill along the way. If you blast through, sometimes your skills haven't developed deeply enough to get you to the next level. Each unit gets harder than the one before. And so you need to prepare yourself for each of those new challenges. So make sure you're doing the practice sessions in between each lesson. You know, if you're doing many lessons each week, maybe you can slow it down. Go back to some of the easier lessons, or you can just review stuff you already know and just make sure that your fingers are building up the skills to prepare yourself for the next lesson. Make sure you thoroughly are mastering each concept along the way. All right. I think that's all we have time for today. I told you I would share a little bit about what I've been working on. This is a work in progress. I haven't completely mastered this piece yet, but it's called Fantasy Impromptu by Chopin. And one of the tricky things about this piece is that your left hand is playing triplets, meaning there's 3 beats per pulse. So if like this is my pulse, da 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 da, that's what my left hand is doing. And then the right hand is playing 16th notes. So you have to play 4 sounds in your right hand for every 3 sounds in your left hand. And so they're kind of out of sync with each other, which makes it a little bit confusing at first. So we have, you know, this in the left hand, and the right hand is playing this pattern. And then you have to put that together. And that's about how far I am. And the fun thing about this piece for me has been like trying to take apart those rhythms and figuring out ways to put it together. Like I've done a lot of hands alone practice and very slow too. And then the left hand by itself, and then might do the left hand by itself. So I'll take turns back and forth, left hand, then right hand, and then. And if I get enough of that back and forth, and then the last step is kind of to stop thinking about it so much and just let your fingers do it. Now, that sounds like, oh, well, you're just not thinking and just let your fingers do it. Well, that only works if you've put in the preparation with the hands alone. You've got to almost get it where it's on automatic pilot. And then you can just let your fingers do their thing. At some point, you have to back off and trust your fingers to do what you want them to do. But that's a really fun piece, and I'm enjoying learning that. Well, it's been a lot of fun being with you today, and I appreciate you all belonging to the Hoffman Academy community. Please come back next week. We'll do some improvising. It will be our usual jam session where we'll do a little lesson on improvisation, and then we'll make some music together. I hope you all have a great time practicing this week. Keep making music and stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all next week.